Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 7 o'clock, witching hour. I'd like to declare the meeting of Lanteglos by Foy Parish Council open and welcome the public. And first off, I would like to pass on what's happened in the village in the past week. Is that the fire brigade have now proved to provide first response in the medical emergency crews. Myself in the Council of Hannaford attended an open afternoon at Wednesday 17th of February at 4 o'clock. And there are 8 qualified on-call firefighters from the community fire station, and they provide a first response in life-threatening emergency calls as from Wednesday the 17th of Feb as part of a partnership with South Western Service NHS Trust Foundation. And so anybody dials 99, our first responder will be the members of Polar and Fire Brigade. Similar schemes have been running since 1999 in St Kevin, Mullion, St Mawes, Helston, the Roseland Peninsula and the Lizard Peninsula. The Chief Fire Officer attended and said we are very happy to be expanding our work with the South Western Ambulance Service NHS Foundation Trust to provide additional critical medical emergency cover in Polruan and the surrounding area.
That's good.
Also at the same meeting were members of the ambulance and fleet, and in conversation with the ambulance training staff, they're going to arrange hopefully to have a member from fleet attend our next meeting and tell us the workings of fleet and how to acquire defibrillators. And apparently if you have a defibrillator through the fleet group, then that defibrillator goes on what they call a CAD system. So if anybody dials 999 and talks to the operator will immediately tell that person where the nearest defib is. If it's not part of the fleet system, it doesn't go on apparently this CAD system which the ambulance service operates. So hopefully next meeting in March, 21st of March, we'll have an attendee from the fleet services. And this afternoon I had a walk round Polruan to discuss the drainage problems. The drain problems considering down on the corner by the Singing Kettle, which continually is blowing. I told them in no uncertain terms what I thought of the repairs to it. It's at least 6 times. So the engineers concerned took photographs and they are attending a meeting tomorrow which is budgeting for drainage repairs and replacement, of which Polruan is going to be on the list brought forward for drainage replacement. And then the drains outside of Mr Hill's, 79 Wellside, they looked at, they understand the problem, and unfortunately to do with cameras, because there's a degree of confidentiality, he's going to check the camera footage which they have and try and get back to me with the feedback of the report of their findings. So that is on the drains. The 2 manhole covers which are broken loose outside 73 4th Street and outside the car park in Polruan, top car parks in Saviour's Hill, they are going to be repaired by South West Water. So hopefully things are in hand with the drains. Which then leaves with the drains back with highways. There are lots of drains still not been dug out. Essa 1, West Street, 4th Street. The drain people need to come along and regularly clean them, unfortunately. So, public forum, please. Questions? Yes, please.
Yes, Mr Chairman. The path going down to Policeman's Lane, I went down this afternoon and the state of it is disgusting with mud. And just before I went down, there was a young lady went down in front of me, who I didn't see, and she's got arthritis and is on crutches. She fell, and luckily her mother was there to help her up. And I know that where they're having this garden done, aren't they, down at Bones Meadow?
In the moorings, yeah.
Yeah, but I know that's the only way they can get there, but at least they should be clearing up all the mud that's there.
Well, this at the moment is with Mr. James Clapp of Cornwall Pro Foot Public Services.
Mm.
He walked that footpath on New Year's Day because he likes his countryside walks. He has seen what has happened to the path.
Mm.
He thought the path was iffy, but he's to be informed if it gets out of hand again. And obviously, what you were saying,
It is.
it's getting out of hand. If I could have a letter, please.
The gardeners started work again this week.
That's right, that's where the trouble is now.
But this has got, this has got to go to a Mr. Clapp of Cornwall Public Footpaths. So if I could have a letter, please, and stating the date and time, and Councillor Hannaford no doubt will take it up at the same time.
Mm.
Then we got evidence lying with the clerk that we've had formal complaints of accidents there.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm right, Paul, you're talking about the path in front of Simpsons,
Yeah.
not the path down Bones Meadow.
No,
It's the tarmac path
yeah.
from Meadow Close down to Policeman's Lane, not the one
Policeman's
Policeman's Lane
Well,
down.
it's Meadow Walk actually,
Yeah.
the top part it's called, isn't it?
It's
And
Meadow
You
Walk.
come down Meadow Walk, you can
It
either
is
go down
Meadow
the
Walk.
public footpath down past the moorings, or you can come down Policeman Lane.
Yeah,
No.
well, it's coming down Policeman's Lane, where it meets up with Policeman's Lane. It's
That-
the main, yeah.
That
It's even breaking up the tarmac there as well now.
the path is called Meadow Walk.
That's right.
Well, what's been transiting that path to take it, because it's only pedestrian.
It's the trucks carrying the stuff down.
They come down,
Yeah, the truck vehicles, small ones,
Yeah.
and as they come off the path coming up, they got mud on the tracks, and that's all.
have you got a photograph? Because I see you're
No.
very handy with the camera.
There
Oh,
are photographs
So
being
if
taken,
you've got a
I
photograph,
understand.
then please, it would be most helpful.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, like your recorder, it's all time and dated.
well, but that is a path. It's Meadow Walk, not. Although Bones Meadow Path might be bad now, I think it will be, and that's what the rights of way bloke would be more
So
involved
this
with.
is highways then? That Policeman's Lane is highways?
Well,
Because they repaired the fencing and put the safety fencing back up.
yeah, that's in Policeman's Lane. Whether they will admit it's theirs
Well,
is
there's
another
street lighting
matter.
there, there's public lighting.
But that's got nothing to do with it. They put street lighting in public rights of way, whether they own it or not. So
Somebody
just,
must own that footpath then.
yeah, but it's like a lot of paths, unless people claim ownership, you don't know who owns it.
I know the council did put a handrail there years ago. Up the top end,
We'll
didn't they?
take it up
Yeah,
with
yeah.
James Clapp and get Councillor Hannaford to...
Isn't it down to, obviously, if you're working a project, there must be some sort of project manager in
Yeah.
charge, and then I would have thought
Site
it was
management.
down to, or for the responsibility of the contractors to clean up at the end of each day.
Yeah.
So I would put it down to the contractors
Yeah.
having to clean up after themselves, or put in the appropriate notices up
And
and
close the
report
footpath.
it and close the footpath while they're working there.
Yes, please, Sylvie.
Okay, just so I'm clear, you're talking about the tarmac path that goes down to where we replace the railing at the bottom.
Yes, that's
That one, that's Policeman's Lane.
No,
No?
Policeman's
Meadow
Lane,
Walk.
It goes
the
from Meadow
Policeman's
Walk.
Lane
It's
is
the one-
where the fence is.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
Policeman's Lane.
Okay,
From there, in front of the Simpsons houses,
yeah,
is Meadow Walk.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, there's several issues here. Land ownership is one thing. Whether it's adopted highway is another, because Mr. Charman is quite right, they could still put fences up and put lighting up, but it not be adopted highway or have any responsibility to do it. I'm not saying that's the case, I don't know. Who you're talking to is enforcement, to enforce the contractor who's working down below to be a bit more public spirited and clean up after his work, because that's really that's just really poor. So that's where Cornwall Council are getting involved to compel the person, the contractor that's doing the work, to clean up after themselves.
So we've got to write now to Cornwall County Council Enforcement and ask them for an officer to come
I
in
think
and
you
enforce
are,
it.
aren't you?
That's the contact you've got.
You've got the contact. Yeah.
Yeah, there's James Clapp who's pros, but it was for the roads.
Public right of ways. Well, I think it may well be a public
That
right
is
of way.
pros, yeah.
Yeah.
That is the contact James.
James Clapp for the
and,
enforcement officer.
and Mr. Clemens as well.
Yeah.
And ask him to make sure his
I think
contractors clean up.
with Chairman, with respect, I think that it could do with speaking to the person who's having the work done.
Mr. Clements, yeah.
Because it's his contractor, so he should be telling his contractor to up their game, really.
So we speak to Mr. Clements first for the name
Oh,
of the
friendly, in
contractor.
a friendly way, you know, so please,
Well,
if you can.
But once again, if it's that dangerous in places, that right of way should be closed for public safety.
And Chairman, that's where the enforcement side of it will make that judgment and try to either enforce the contractor or decide if the contractor's not doing it, it's closed. Now, we don't want it closed because that's going to cause all sorts of upheaval up above, so you don't want that to happen. So sometimes a friendly word or even an enforcement officer's word, come on,
But where,
sort yourself
where
out.
the actual mud path is, it goes down to Clements itself. If you've got a track vehicle that's constantly tracking stuff down and back up, you're going to constantly wear a big rut, no matter what.
there are big
What
ruts in
happens,
there.
you're going to end up with 2 massive track ruts down through.
But
And,
does,
you know, and especially with the weather we've had.
is it the Bones Meadow people own that path?
The Bones
It
Meadow own
is,
the path.
But they were
Yeah.
going to do that, if you remember back a lot.
They are, yeah.
But they belayed that when they did
Because-
the other one, and then suddenly they belayed it again
I
for
think
some
they were-
strange reason.
Well, I think there was some confusion about whether they had to stop it up to do the work. There's a 3-month lead time. It got all very, very difficult. So I think they were just going to do the work without a closure and get it done as quickly as possible. In the meantime, Mr. Clemens, is it?
Clements.
C-L-E-M-E-S.
Clemens is having his work done, so obviously if he's got a track vehicle going up and down, they don't want to do the work and then the track vehicle go on it. So it's just a set of
But
circumstances.
you know, best will in the world, with the weather we've had and a track vehicle going over
It's going to be muddy.
a non-made up ground, it's going to cause ruts, no matter what
Yeah.
you
But I
do.
still think they have
So I
a...
think it could be quite dangerous
Yeah.
for people actually to negotiate it.
You've got to walk down the middle because it's right on the side.
So what we'll do then is a letter to Mr. Clements, polite letter, and a letter to James Clapp, photograph it
Asking for advice.
tomorrow and
what
ask
we
for
should do.
advice.
The mud is also upon the main road where the
Meadow Walk,
road,
Meadow Close, Meadow
yes,
Close.
where it meets Meadow Close and Lower Greenbank. The mud is all
And that's
across
coming
the
from
road
where
there.
there's big dumpy
Yeah,
bags of
that's it.
sand,
That's it.
Yeah.
which is all designated for the mooring site.
Yeah, well that is what's happening. They're taking these bags, putting it on this truck thing,
Yeah.
yeah, and taking it down the path, Bones Meadow Park, to Mr. Clements.
Well, if it's on the road, if you're a farmer, you have to keep that road clear of mud.
Exactly.
So why shouldn't a builder have to?
The thing is, I mean, he's got to have the work done, obviously, but at least I think if someone tried to clear up the mud,
Yeah.
you know, as they were doing it, would be something.
Surely there's someone overseeing the job,
Well,
and
I
he
don't
should
know.
be
I
made
don't know who he's
responsible
got.
for keeping that in order, no matter what. A banksman,
Yeah, I don't know. But I was concerned about this young girl falling.
Yes.
So-
So if we can have a letter then, please.
Sorry.
It's not good.
No.
That shouldn't happen.
No.
I mean, she might... I don't- He might be responsible if he had any injury.
Luckily,
Right, any more items, please? Yes, please.
About Paul Terrace Road, it's full of pits, it's supposed to be resurfaced last year.
Yeah, when you had that site meeting, with number.
What, for the parking?
Lay-by,
Not
yeah.
so much parking, but they said there's going to be resurfaced, it's got big holes in it now. Down the bottom and it's just
Councillor
stone.
Alfred.
I honestly thought it had been done because that was the agreement we had at the meeting when we met,
Yeah.
oh gosh, a year ago. So that's the first I've heard of it. So I will go and write the pages because it wasn't highways, it was Cornwall Housing.
Yeah.
Because the land is owned by Cornwall Housing. It's not adopted highway, but I think they have a responsibility to the tenants that they have on Hall Terrace.
The first pit's really big, isn't it?
Yeah, they are.
That needs sorting then. Do you have a picture you could email to me?
I could do it.
Do
If
me a
you
picture.
email,
I'm happy to take that up.
take it, yeah, email a picture, then, as he said, a picture paints 1,000 words.
Well, I know we had letters saying that people that have private houses would have to pay so much, but this was said that they would repair them anyway.
Right, okay, next question, please. Any more questions, public forum? No, right, on we move. Right, members who received reports from outside authorities, police, no police here. You got a police report? Lovely. Right, well, the only thing we got from him is, thank you for the invite to the meeting. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to attend the meeting due to shift times. However, I'm pleased to report there were no crimes recorded in the parish last month. If there's any concerns or questions, then please do not hesitate to contact me, and please pass on my apologies. That's from PCSO Dave Evans, and there's a mobile number here if you wish to copy it. Councillor Alfred.
Thank you, Chairman. I think you've stolen my thunder a little bit about the fire station. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Those guys are such an asset to the town, village. They really should be congratulated for the service they're providing. So, well done those guys, fantastic. I know that the head of, the portfolio holder for communities, Councillor Jeff Brown, was extremely impressed with the setup there as well. So I don't need to go into the detail of that.
That was done to shorten your speech.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll try and be. I think there is a huge issue about highways and potholes and flooding. I think the people that live up at Bate Cross, further back towards Flint, feel a bit marooned because they're surrounded on all sides by flood water. I think that Councillor Fisher did pick up some of the work that I've been trying to get that road open that had the real deep water. And I think we should thank Lou Fire Station, who came on a Sunday morning and pumped it out. Highways didn't even know there was drainage there. That was put in about 20 years ago, I understand, from the farmers. And I don't think it had ever been maintained because in the midst of time it got forgotten. All I can say now, the road is open. It was extremely muddy when I went through there Friday. I asked for them to come back and clean it again. I know it's not in the Lanteglos parish, but it affects people in Lanteglos because they've got to drive through it. So they've told me they've gone back to clean it again. And that's going to be on a regular 4-month maintenance inspection. So that's one very small victory.
Where will it start? Will it start from Tratford Dip?
From Kit's Nest.
Yes, but really, because Tratford Dip floods up quite regularly.
Further back
Further
towards.
back, Old Glassett.
Yeah, that's back towards, further this way, isn't
Yeah,
it?
further this way, yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't showing any flooding at that time. I drove it, there was nothing there. There is a bit, if you get up to the crossroads, you turn right to go to Plint. If you went straight on towards Tremaine Green, there was a bit there. I did drive through that, it wasn't too bad, so I've asked for that to cleared. I'll drive that way home tonight and see if it's been done. I don't know, but I was more worried about the bit on the corner at Cartol Holiday
Cartol Farm,
Cottage there. I started going into it and I thought, I don't think I want to do this. So that's why I went back round Tremaine Green. So I have asked, I've no idea whether it's been done, I haven't had a catch up. The water levels, the groundwater levels are so high at the moment, where there isn't a soak away or drainage pipes, it's really difficult to with the groundwater levels being so high, for that to percolate away. And this parish, and the Plint parish, it's all over Cornwall, it's not just here. I see it as I drive through Cornwall. So I think we just have, they know about them, they're trying their hardest to get on top of it. And that water has really caused some really bad potholes. But they're working their way through it, that's all I can say. But I'm glad that road was opened, because I had messages from not just the farmers who are marooned, but care workers coming from Plint on their tours to get to Polruan, having to do a detour, and they've got quite strict set times to work. So I thought it was really important to make a bit of effort. Yeah, a lot come to Polruan, that's for sure. I just wanted to touch on the Cornwall Council budget. You may have heard in the headlines that we've agreed to increase the Cornwall Council tax by 1.99%. So it's within the referendum, below the referendum threshold. But we've also agreed to increase a further 2%, which is ring-fenced for adult social care. A growing problem, more elderly people, people living longer. It really is getting quite serious. So but yeah,
Thanks.
but for others, well, you obviously don't need help at the moment. You don't need it, so you're okay. But there's plenty that do. So it's really, my view on that is that I think the government should be paying for adult social care, and not just the taxpayers of Cornwall, especially when there is a higher proportion of older people in Cornwall, particularly in Polruan as well. So it's called the Social Care Precept. We are taking money out of our reserves as well. We're taking £12 million out of reserves. We had a little bit of a shock when the actual settlement came through, because we were £6 million adrift on what we thought it would be. But they, I think after a lot of lobbying from, from Conservative members as well as from the rest of us, that rural authorities were being unduly penalised. They give us back 3, but we're still we're still £3 million adrift from where we thought. So we had worked on the £6 million. They gave us £3 million back, so we just smoothed that through the reserves. We are getting towards the end of our sort of 4-year budget that we set. There are more cuts to come, but I think that there is going to particularly be a problem next year rather than this year about the way that the cash flow goes, if I can put it. So we're not out of the woods yet. There still is, the thumb screws are still being on to local authorities. Neighbourhood plan, I need to have a bit of an update really to see where I can help you with your neighbourhood plan. We had a little bit of a shock this week. The St Ives neighbourhood plan, which had gone to independent assessment, and that independent assessor had left in the principal residency condition that they put in their plan, i.e. any new homes should be primarily for people that are going to live there all year round. It's a second home thing. And we went, yay! That's the first time. It was removed from the Rosen plan, removed from the Rain plan as not being compliant. This particular inspector left it in. No more than a week later, a solicitor's letter turned up from Cornwall Council challenging the inspector's view that that was compliant and judicially reviewing their plan. So I want to make sure, in my capacity as planning portfolio holder, that we put all resources behind getting Cancell's opinion, because we don't agree with it, because I think they have firm evidence there. We want to challenge that, because I can see there's going to be umpteen plans across Cornwall, least of all you, that would perhaps want to consider a principal residency for any new development. There are 2 sessions on neighbourhood planning that are coming up in March. I haven't quite, the meeting tomorrow is going to nail the dates, but I'll let you know, because I think that would be quite useful for you to network with other areas that are doing neighbourhood plans, so you can learn from others that are a bit further down the line and ask questions. So there's 2 half-day sessions coming, but I'll keep you abreast of that. I think that's all I want to say at the moment, and I'm happy to take any other questions, but doing a lot of work on your drains at the moment.
Well, that drain really, in essence, is a prime problem. As various people, one person who's seen them arrive with a van, they looked at it, they put out the flood signs, so that was a fortnight ago.
It's less now today, certainly than it was.
No, I'm saying it was a fortnight ago that they're supposed to have turned down the drain.
Oh, right.
They just put a flood sign either side.
Yeah.
And
That's a stopgap, because they're just
yeah,
so
but
overrun.
a fortnight, surely. And since then they've had the fire brigade, or that weekend the fire brigade was there, pulling the car out of the water.
£33,000 insurance claim on that one.
No, that's the Jessup one.
Or the other one. Oh, not at Essa, it's Bakecross.
And the other bit is that leaked by the side of the field there. The old roadsman used to clean that leak. Now, I take it if the old roadsman, or lengthsman as the name is these days, used to clean it, then that leak must belong, that wall leak must belong to county council.
Not necessarily, because Chairman, quite often things were done back when there was money, resources and people swilling around, literally, that they often used to do things that now they're examining where they have their responsibilities, because they haven't got the resource, the manpower or womanpower to do everything they need to do. I think this is a prime example. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying this is what cuts from central government look like on the ground.
So could we have an highways inspector as a person to look at it who owns that leak?
Yes.
To repair the edge, because that's a large part of the problem.
So it should go under the road.
The leak goes down to where the hedges intersect. County or highways put in a drain there, but they never want to seem to rod it. And all it takes is somebody rod it and picking it out just a shovel.
Didn't we? I think I sent the clerk an email suggesting the 4th of March for a walk around, and I was suggesting 2:30. It's a Friday, I think. That would be Friday week. I did send an email to the clerk, so we can have a walk around or drive around. I shan't be walking up to Esther, I can tell you.
Swim around.
Swim. I'll bring me inflatable boat.
So on Essa we can say it's going to be looked at.
Oh, absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah, I will think we will get to them all. It's just I think they've been with limited resources. They have. Not saying I agree with it. They put it into A and B roads, and that's like an unclassified road.
But there again, I've seen that cleaning machine with the suction on it up by Trevorrow Farm Museum. So surely when they're going round the roads, it's like out Frogmore. there's drains blocked everywhere. Essa, Frogmore, and that's the only two roads out of Polewood. And like you say, for the care walkers, all the drains are blocked. And if Cornwall County Council want to take claims for what? A Jaguar at 33,000?
Doesn't make sense. It does not
But
make
it doesn't make
sense.
sense as well when you increase the precept and cut the services you're offering.
Yeah, there is
So-
an explanation for that, because only 19% of our budget comes from council tax. So we are very vulnerable in Cornwall, because if you go to some of the London boroughs, their council tax comes, it comes entirely from council tax. They don't have a grant. We are dependent on a grant in Cornwall, so when they cut it, it's a bigger amount coming out of our budget. If you're not given a support grant, they can't cut it.
But don't you think year after year now, with the adverse weather conditions that we're getting, the problem is the runoff from the fields are taking all the fines away, washing them down the roads, and I don't think, no matter what one does throughout the year, you're going to have this problem time and time again. Over the last 4 years now, we've had very, very, heavy rainfall, and the runoff. You go to some of these places and just drive around, the runoff from the ruts that the tractors have caused, and the runoff from the fields themselves constantly fill the drains.
I see
you're
waterfalls.
you're only
on the farm
going
I
to
never
carry
used to
on
see.
getting it.
I think we're on a bit of a losing battle. I think
But
climate
equally,
change
it's
does.
Climate change.
It is a case of saying,
Because I've been on my farm since 1980, and in the last 2 years, I've seen waterfalls coming off from a field into my lane, that I never saw before. Never.
But
It's
thing
not
is,
getting
it's
better,
just-
it's
can
getting
we
worse.
move on,
It's
please?
getting worse. It's climate change.
Exhausted it.
I will work as hard as I can to make sure that all your drainage issues get further up the pile. That's all I can do.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
You'll send me an email with your report?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, weed spraying in Polewood. Members are asked to agree that prices be sought to carry out weed spraying in Polewood. Zones that are the responsibility of this council to be treated. So have we got a map of the zones up there?
on the letter at the back, it's on the back, I can get it.
All the amenities.
Sorry, I didn't add it to the PowerPoint, they're still on the desktop. What did you
No,
put?
the amenities.
Amenities,
Yeah.
there with, sorry. Where am I looking? I'm in the wrong folder, aren't I?
This is a weed spray.
So I'm in the wrong folder.
Could they help amenities there?
Or
Second
you
row
can put
left.
one up on the top corner of the screen. Of your own page.
Where is it, sorry?
Go to the top blue one in your own page, in the corner.
Oh, Lanteglos by full.
And then scroll down to amenities,
Amenities, there it is.
and it's near the bottom of that one.
Weed Botanic. There we are, no, Weed Botanic first. We're close to that.
That's the weed spray. So the green line is Cormac, isn't it?
Well, that would come for us, wouldn't it? What's considered number one? Oh, ribbon. Perfect.
Zoom in a bit. Ah, that's it. The green's ours and the red's. So the outline in green, those are the roads that we're going to ask to be contracted weed spraying. If we look at Hawkins Lane, that's where we intend to carry out the Cormac trader.
Yeah.
Where do you intend to move to next?
I was going from the entrance
Along
to
from
the
the
car
school.
park, which is there-ish, isn't it? There's
Yeah.
bound. All the way across to Brendan,
Yeah,
all that stretch.
and then if we've got time,
We've got time to do the entrance to Greenbank. make use of father-in-law living quite close to it, I was going to get to clean that hedge out.
And then there's the road we was talking about, the lane down from Meadow Walk, where that lady slipped with the mud.
Nobody owns it, are we liable to do it?
But
Or
that's
is it just
actually
because it's a public right of way?
We'll have
Well,
to
once
check
again,
the
it's in a
programs.
grey area.
That's one of the ones we meant to escape streams. So anyway,
So that was the weed spraying. So what we're asking now is, we're asking the agree to seek prices to carry out the weed spray in those green zones. So, any suggestions, please?
we may as well put out to get prices, but also point out the areas of Polwarth that we are cleaning.
Yeah.
So in theory,
Well, you can clean it up once you
if
put
we
weed,
clean it, we'll see
weed
what
spraying.
anything.
Weed spraying knocks it right back after we cleaned it, because it's all this one drop touch.
Yeah, but there's little point in spraying it and then cleaning it up, is there? You may as well clean it up and then
Clean
spray
it
anything that comes back.
Well, clean it up first, then what we're asking for weed spraying contracts, for prices.
So you're looking more
So-
for May time for
Beginning of May, so first,
when the growth is
end of
coming.
April,
Yeah.
spray, yeah, beginning of May. So we look for, if we get prices then for the end of March, that's a month for tenders, isn't it?
Yeah, for the next meeting.
So
Yeah.
we have a proposer and seconder, please, that we
I
send in?
propose, 'cause we say the green areas, but there might be bits that can be cut out.
That's right. Seconder, please. Contract, you seconding it?
Well, is it worth waiting? All I'm saying, you're going to get a quote for all the green areas, but like Adrian's saying, 50% of that might be knocked off. So
Yeah, we knocked off, but in May
But
time, when the
the
spray.
problem is then, John, you're getting a quote, and how are you going to justify what they've done in comparison to the price you've got in? Would it not be better to wait and get people to look around and see what's left to spray, rather than surmise what's going to be taken away?
The trouble is come May and June time, what we clean up now will all be starting to regrow.
It's back to the old days, John, where they used to clean the edges and take that whole issue away, and Doug Nichols used to do it all the time, if you remember, as we were boys,
And then,
and used to brush up the sides, and
then
once a year it was good enough.
the last one was Kenwyn Pierce.
So all I'm saying, how does one equate what's been done, what's not been done? Is it better to wait and see what does get cleaned, and it needs to be a little quick lick over the top, is far quicker than trying to spray half a ton of Ursas along the,
We defer it to the March meeting, defer it to the end of April
you know.
meeting, because that's when the next chance that we have.
But I was going to say, rather than looking for a fixed price tender, because for argument's sake, with the public footpaths we do, it's done on an hourly rate, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we say, right, give us an hourly rate, 2 hours go around the whole route. Because that might be what it equates to, because it's only walking speed, so how long does it take you to walk around the village? It's
So we propose then,
I propose that we could get either a fixed price for the whole of the green area, plus if they would provide an hourly rate to do it, because we might not want it all.
so we could then say
Because for argument's sake,
a fixed price for an hourly rate of the remaining areas that need cleaning, that need weed spraying.
it's
So you kind of a fixed price.
Well,
the
the fixed price is an hourly rate. If they charge £15 an hour, and they do 2 days' work, well, we'll say 15s, 120. That's 240 quid for 2 days' work.
But if you only got some of it left, if you walk around there, some of the areas got massive like pieces that want spraying. Like up along the hill and across there are wider stretches of spraying than some of the other places that hadn't got enough earth or much earth there. There's a hell of a lot less in other areas,
Why do we need it all sprayed anyway?
Sorry?
Why do we need it all sprayed anyway?
Because the new spray system they got is basically like a little drop system. And you put a drop on instead of a big wide beam spray. It's a drop on each piece as they go along. The whole system's far easier apparently. So we can defer it to the April meeting. But then again, by the time you get contracts in, discuss it at the April meeting, then you're looking at May for contracts in, to get the contracts in for May, and it's June before the weed spraying commences. And
The thing is, there's very limited contractors we're going to get. You know, if we think of one local, well, there's two local that might put in for it. If we just ask to provide a price for these areas, because equally, it's not costing us money to ask them. They might be a bit upset if they don't get the work, but we don't have to. By asking for tenders, we don't have to do the work. So it might cause upset with them if they've tendered for something that then doesn't get done at all, but at least we know the figures we're dealing with. At the moment, we're just
budget figures, yeah.
You know, we've been discussing spraying since November, is it? You know, at every meeting we say, what's the point? It doesn't point in it. Well, for interest's sake, let's just get a price of what it would cost. And it's going to be, you know, if we're talking £500, it can save for the weeds.
Proposer and seconder, please. You happy with that?
What was it?
So I propose we ask the price, we
For
ask
the whole lot?
do
For the
the
lot?
see what the figure's going to be.
Right.
And if we don't bother,
For the whole lot?
yeah, if it's too much, thank you very much.
I'll second that.
Right,
Right,
show
for the whole
of hands,
lot.
please. Show of hands.
I abstain.
You abstain, right. Sweet.
I don't approve the spraying.
Right. Right, the application of the Neighbourhood Planning Regulations 2012 basically it reads out, Lanteglos by Foy Parish Council give notice that we wish to make an application under Part 2 brackets 5 brackets 1 of the Neighbourhood Planning brackets General Regulations 2012/2015 for the designation of a neighbourhood area with a neighbourhood development plan. The application is accompanied by a map below identifying the area to which the application relates, being the entire area of Lanteglos by Foy Parish. This area is considered appropriate to be designated as a neighbourhood plan for the following reasons. The Parish Council resolved to develop a plan for the neighbourhood area at a council meeting on appropriate date. The community has agreed that a neighbourhood plan should be developed. Public meetings have been held on appropriate date. We consider the whole of the parish of Lanteglos by Foy is the most appropriate area to be covered by the plan. Parish Council is a relevant body for the purposes of Section 61G of the 1990 Town and Country Planning Act, being the Parish Council for the entire area applied for. Over to you, Adrian, if you've got that message.
What would you want me to add to that?
As I was asking you for a verbal report on the progress of the neighbourhood plan survey.
Well, the neighbourhood plan survey is still ongoing, obviously. There are...
No, that's nothing to do with
That's
that.
nothing to do with it. This is a follow-on, so what I'm saying is, this is what this document's about.
Yeah, and we need to make a propose tonight that we register the plan and provide them with that information.
Right. Proposer and seconder, please.
I'll propose, yeah, that needs to be done to move on to the next
To
stage.
move on to the next
Regardless of
stage,
the,
yeah. Regardless of their reports. Seconder, show of hands, please.
yeah.
20 past 8, 20 hours.